Thank you all for joining us this evening for this virtual public meeting on the Bois Lake Treated Water Pipeline. My name is Jeff McKeto. I'm a public relations specialist here for the North Texas Municipal Water District. This is the first time that NTMWD has hosted a public meeting virtually, and we are happy to have you join us to learn more about this vital project. Before we get though too far into this evening's meeting, I do want to say thank you to Collin County Commissioner Darrell Hale for his help coordinating the meeting to better inform the residents of Collin County on this project. So thank you very much, Commissioner Hale. Over the next 45 minutes, we will cover several topics tonight, including the services that NTMWD provides the communities that we serve, as well as why Bois Lake is important. We'll talk a little bit about the Bois Lake project. We'll have a short presentation on that and its various components. And then we'll have a presentation that specifically covers the treated water pipeline, what that work will entail and how it will affect traffic and roads along its 25-mile route. If you do have any questions during the presentations, during tonight's meeting, you can ask them by using the question and answer function that's located on Zoom. And you may receive a written response during the presentations, but we will also verbally answer questions after them. So let's talk a little bit about NTMWD and the services that we offer. First of all, we serve up to 80 communities on a daily basis, up to 80 communities providing water, 75 of those on a daily basis, 5 of those as needed. That's a service area of about 2,200 square miles in 10 different counties here in North Texas. 1.8 million people currently receive water from us. But that's not the only service we provide. We also provide wastewater services to 1.3 million people, and we provide solid waste services to about 900,000. This is a look at where we get water from, our current water sources. As you can see, Levon Lake is the major supply we get our water from, but we also pull water from Lake Texoma, located up on the Red River, Lake Tawakoni, Chapman Lake, and we have a reuse wetland project that's located southeast of Dallas that we can get water from as well. And then Bois Lake, as you see on this map, that is the lake currently in progress. So why do we need to build Bois Lake? Well, really, it's all about population. When the district began providing water in 1956, we serviced 30,000 people. Today, as I mentioned, 1.8 million, and as you can see by this map, by the year 2070, that number is more than doubled, expected to double to 3.7 million people. Our service area includes some of the fastest growing cities in the country, including Frisco and McKinney. We also service Plano, Allen. The Collin County communities are really growing. And in fact, Bois Lake will really only provide us reliable water until the year 2040, and we will need to find additional sources after that to keep up with the growth in our area. So as we look at the treated water pipeline, specifically what we're talking about tonight, here are some of those communities near and along the pipeline that we will provide water to. You can see on this map here, the city of Anna, the city of Melissa, North Collin Special Utility District, Princeton and McKinney, we provide water to them. They're actually 2 of our 13 member cities, the Caddo Basin Special Utility District and the Milligan WSC. We provide water to all of those. And so these communities will receive water from Bois Lake. So I want to turn it over now to Steve Long. Steve Long has been with the district for 29 years. He currently serves as the program manager for Bois Lake. And he's here to tell us a little bit about what the different components of the lake are and how they work. Steve, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Jeff, very much. And thank everyone for joining us. We really appreciate this opportunity. So what is Bois Lake? It is the first major reservoir that's been constructed in Texas in 30 years. And it's about 16,600 acres. It's got a firm yield of 108 MGD, similar to Lake Levon, a little bit less, but similar to that. And North Texas is the owner and operator. The cost estimate that you see here, the 1.6 billion, that is for all of the components that we'll talk about. And I know that y'all are here for the treated water pipeline to discuss that, but in this particular case, we're going to go ahead and I'll review the entire program. So Construction began after we received both permits. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Began in 2018. We anticipate starting to impound water in late 2020 with ultimate delivery of treated drinking water to our service area in the spring of 2022. Okay, so this is an overview of the project. As you can see, it's a very long project. It starts at the northeast corner of Fannin County and goes all the way to the city of McKinney. So the first area that we want to talk about, we organized this project based on work type. So we have heavy civil earthwork. That'll be Archer Western doing the dam, reservoir clearing, and the Leonard Terminal Storage Reservoir. We have Resource Environmental Solutions, and they are going to do the mitigation. As you can see, we purchased a 15,000 acre ranch, Riverby Ranch, and we have some upper mitigation site east of Bonham. So Resource Environmental Solutions will be our major contractor for that part of the project. The next part is the heavy mechanical. That'll be the raw water pump station at the dam, the Leonard Water Treatment Plant, and the Leonard High Service Pump Station. Garney is that major contractor. For the roads and bridges, we contract with Austin Bridge and Road. And then Garney also will be doing the raw water pipeline and today's topic, the treated water pipeline. So this is a picture of the dam. The dam is approximately 2 miles long. It's called a zoned earthen embankment. What that means is that there are different types of material that we want, different types of earth that we want to go in different portions of the dam. So the upstream side will be the heavier clay particle. That'll be our impervious layer. The downstream side will have more sand. Finally, we'll also have a sand layer and a sand blanket, and that'll be our drainage system. So all of the materials for the dam are available on site with the exception of the sand. So about 5.5 million cubic yards of embankment will make up the dam. It also has raw water intake structure, raw water pump station, and the service spillway, and we'll get to see more on that in a minute. So the raw water intake structure today is about 95 feet high. As you can see the picture on the right, you see the two gentlemen in yellow vests at the very top. That gives you a perspective of how tall the structure is today. Ultimately, it'll be 110 feet tall. It's about 84% complete. There are two 78-inch pipes. This intake can be operated either in parallel or individually. There are gates at multiple levels that allow us to withdraw water for the best water quality at different levels in the lake for the better water quality. This is the raw water pump station. And the raw water pump station basically is two pump stations that are built side by side. We have two different rooms. There'll be a total of 9 pumps in each room. It's the size of a football field. So its initial capacity will have 3 pumps, and that'll be 90 million gallons per day. Now, 90 million gallons per day is almost 70,000 gallons a minute. If you can imagine a 1 gallon water jug, if you can imagine 70,000 passing that in 1 minute. So that's a considerable amount of water. It'll be 236 million gallons per day at full build out. What is interesting, one interesting thing is that it's 50 feet deep. And so we are having to use chilled water to actually cool the pump motors. The next item is the service spillway. Service spillway, 1,000 feet long, and it's got some very high walls, up to 42 feet tall. If you look at the picture on the right, you see the W. The W is what we call a labyrinth spillway. So basically, a normal spillway for this size dam would need to be 150 feet long. We were able to do a physical model and were able to reduce that size to 60 feet, and you can see that in that with the rebar that will ultimately be the Labyrinth spillway. All right, on the mitigation property. So RES basically does the design, the build, the operating, the maintaining, and they will ultimately, 20 years from now, turn it over to the Corps of Engineers once the Corps signs off and says, yes, mitigation property is operating like it should. Approximately 17,000 acres, total 5 million trees. Right now they've planted 3.1 million trees. So they've been very busy. The picture on your left shows what a stream looks like that has been restored. Notice the vegetation, notice the curves. We call that sinuosity. Notice that the velocities are not too great and that stream is very stable. That's what we're looking for in a restored stream. The Leonard Water Treatment Plant will be a 70 million gallon per day treatment plant. It will be a conventional treatment plant, but it'll have a unique disinfection. It'll be a very high level disinfection. State of the art. We'll use ozone to disinfect the water here. So it'll be a very good quality water. To the north, you'll see the terminal storage reservoir. So we'll have two. The initial one will be 210 million gallons. This is the FM 897 bridge. It's 1.3 miles long, sorry. And it's, what is interesting about this bridge is that it was 2 years, this bridge has been constructed in 2 years. 2 years ago, there was nothing here but trees. So they have Austin has made a lot of progress on this bridge, 6.2 miles of FM 897, and then other Fannin County roads. We were able to leverage, Austin has a commercial division. We were able to leverage them to help us as the main contractor for our Lake Operations Center and our Lake Operations Center warehouse. The Lake Operations Center will be the main headquarter operations for the Lake office, and it also contains space for Fannin County Sheriff's Office and the Texas Parks and Wildlife. So this is the 90-inch raw water pipeline. Right now, it is about 47% complete. Each pipe weighs 25,000 pounds and is 50 feet long. So one tractor trailer load for each pipe. And you'll see that on the treated water pipeline as well. So the picture on your right, you'll see is a 114-inch diameter tunnel. So we're tunneling underneath major road crossings and major creek crossings. Timeline, we received the 2 permits. We had to receive one from the state that allow us to impound water, and that was received in June of 2015. We had to receive one from the federal government. That was February of 2018. So with both of those permits, we were allowed to start the dam in May of 2018 and the roadway in May of 2018. As you can see, the roadway has progressed very rapidly. So in August, we brought in resource environmental solutions for the mitigation property. November, we started the Leonard Water Treatment Plant. December, we started the raw water pump station. So in the spring of 2019, the raw water pipeline started. We had started construction on the boat ramps and the recreation areas. And then this winter, the treated water pipeline will start. So late summer, FM 897 bridge and roadway will be complete. And then later on will be the boat ramps and the recreation areas. Late 2020 will be the dam. We'll start impounding water. Then we will also bring online the raw water and treated water pump stations and pipelines, and then the Leonard Water Treatment Plant for final delivery in spring of 2022. The environmental work that RES is doing, the mitigation property will be complete in the spring of 2023. And with that, could I turn it back over to Jeff?
Steve, thank you very much. I do want to mention that we are recording this meeting, and we will put a link to it on the Bois Lake website. We expect that to be up no later than tomorrow. So If you'd like to rewatch it, or if you'd like to share it with someone you know that's interested that may not have been able to attend, you will be able to do that. Speaking of the Bodark Lake website, it is a great resource for staying up to date on the lake's progress. It's bodarklake.org, BOIDARCLAKE.org. And while you're on the website, you can watch videos, you can see photos of the progress. You can download the monthly report, which includes images and short stories on the progress. Plus, you can sign up for the Bodark Lake monthly e-newsletter. And this evening, for the first time, we are happy to announce that we are launching a treated water pipeline e-newsletter. This newsletter will provide you updates on the pipeline's progress, impacts to roads and traffic. You can visit bodarklake.org, click on the sign up for e-newsletters on the homepage. Well, as Steve mentioned, Garney Construction is the contractor in charge of the pipeline installations, and Jason Jansen is the construction manager for Garney. He joins us now to talk about what you can expect to see during pipeline construction and how it will affect those roads and traffic. Jason, thank you very much for joining us.
Jeff, thank you very much. Appreciate your time, and again, look forward to this presentation. As Jeff had indicated, my name is Jason Jansen. I'm the construction manager overseeing the entirety of the pipelines. Mr. Long had indicated before a number of CMARs. The pipelines portion we refer to as CMAR 5. For today's agenda, I'm going to cover a number of topics. What we do, just give you a brief intro into Garney and what we are as an organization. I'm going to retouch briefly on a program overview. We'll dive into more specifics related to the treated water pipeline. As Jeff had indicated, we'll touch upon route and road impacts, as well as what to expect during construction. I think you'll find we incorporated a number of photos that hopefully visual aids offer a lot to be expected of what's going to be forthcoming. Last but not least, safety. It's at the forefront of everything that we do. Projects of this size and this magnitude come with an inherent level of concern from a public safety standpoint. So we'll touch upon items that we would like to maintain throughout the course of the build. Then lastly, we can cover any questions that might be applicable. So what do we do, Garney Construction? Garney is a wastewater contractor. We specialize in pump stations, pipelines, treatment plants, and heavy civil work. Not to convolute some of the discussions, but as that opening indicates, we deal with pump stations, treatment plants, and pipelines. So Garney has two components on this project: the raw water intake, the new Leonard water treatment plant, and then what I'm going to talk about today, the pipelines component. Garney was founded in 1961. We're very proud of the fact we're a 100% employee-owned company. You know, we take very serious what we do, and today we are just over 1,500 fellow employee owners. For a program overview, for all intents and purposes, the alignment extending north of Leonard to the new Bodark Lake site is the raw water component. That's the 35 miles of 90-inch raw water pipeline. For today's discussions, we will dive in deeper to the treated water pipeline component. That's approximately 25 miles extending from Leonard, the new water treatment plant site, to convey potable water from Leonard to the McKinney North Texas Interconnect.
Jason, excuse me one second. Would you mind sharing your slides with us?
Let me try this again. How's that, Jeff? Is that showing?
Yes, sir.
Apologies for the technical glitch. So back to the program overview component. Again, we touched on the raw water pipeline and the treated water pipeline. As far as the treated water pipeline project overview, again, this approximate 25 miles of 84 inch is intended to convey a potable or treated water supply from the newly constructed Leaner Water Treatment Plant facility southwest to McKinney. To piggyback on some of Mr. Long's fun facts, as Steve had indicated, each pipe segment along this corridor will be 50-foot lay lengths. To break this down into numerics, every single foot of this pipeline will consist of approximately 288 gallons per lineal foot. The entire span, just in a residual volume from Leonard to McKinney, will be just over 36 million gallons of water. So it's quite massive undertaking. To dive into more particulars on the project overview, again, approximately 25 miles of 84-inch. The corridor along this alignment, it actually touches three counties, Fannin, Hunt, and Collin. Along this pipeline alignment, there's a total of 12 open cut county road crossings. We'll talk about in more detail later. Also of magnitude, there's 27 separate tunneled crossings for a totality of approximately 1.3 miles. Also, there will be 7 large diameter inline 84-inch isolation butterfly valves, and what we refer to as pipeline appurtenances. There'll be 47 air release valves intended to expel air during pipeline operations, and then a series of 4 independent blow-off valve structures if during normal operations that the pipeline needs to be dewatered for routine inspections, etc. Moving on to route and road impacts. As I indicated, there are the 12 open cut county roads. I won't read those, but they're over on the left-hand side of the screen. This red signal indicates temporary county road for the installation. These, in fact, are the open cut portions. The green triangles indicate the proposed tunnel crossings. From a county road standpoint, there are, in fact, 2 county roads that will be tunneled, and the remainder are open cut. All the TXDOT, farmer market highways, etc., will be conducted by tunneling operations. So what to expect? For those of you that have already been in direct communication with either myself or Ben Snyder, there's several operations that are ongoing, but I'm going to start at the beginning. For pre-construction preparations, one of the first things we do to safeguard everyone's interest is to conduct a preliminary road assessment. That's to establish a baseline to see how the roads withstand the delivery traffic. Secondly, and this is all property owners' interest, we compile a pre-construction documentation of all your properties, and we conduct that in a series of 2 attempts. We conduct aerial drone photography as well as ground photo and videography. And if ever throughout the course of construction, we have a series of what it looked like before to match like or equal kind to post-construction. Also, for the pre-construction preparations, we survey the project site, the limits, the right-of-ways, the easements. To begin the necessary preparations to facilitate the construction deliveries, there are a series of roadways that might require some improvements prior to start of those deliveries. Also, you'll find that we clear the timber along the right-of-way, and then we'll touch into this more later on, but remove vegetation and topsoil, and that's key to the final restoration of your property. Also, at the onset of pre-construction preparations, we'll establish the construction entrances as well as implement erosion control protection and initiate those inspections. A lot of these activities will be ongoing throughout the course of the build, such as erosion control and et cetera. Some of the larger impact work items leading into the start of the pipe installation, you might see we will initiate the tunnel crossings. And one might ask, why do you do that? The reason is the tunnel constructions are typically a longer lead work item. So the intent to get them out early is to avoid delays once the pipe installation crews mobilize on site. So to maintain the stringent schedule. And furthermore, having those tunnels constructed mitigates against any congestion that might be incurred during the construction delivery phase. In the opening slide I'd indicated, but it's a focal point, the stripping and stockpiling of topsoil. Again, this is necessary to safeguard your existing topsoil to help facilitate final property restoration, as well as the construction of material deliveries to facilitate those. Here's an exhibit of what a finished product of a tunnel liner plate installation looks like. This actually is a photo underneath of a State Highway 78 just south of Leonard. So to give you a visual of those ongoing efforts, these tunnels are actually being constructed by the hand tunnel liner plate method. This photo here is indicative of what the right-of-way conditions will look like. Essentially, we will pre-cut, assuming there's 12 inches available, 12 inches of the topsoil, and push that to the far side of the right-of-way. During the course of construction, staging materials, it's critical we keep this topsoil segregated at the close of construction to put it back and ensure the revegetation. So what else to expect? Preparations for pipe installation, staging of the materials. The start of pipe deliveries is targeting June 29th, and we'll begin stringing and staging of the 84-inch welded steel pipeline, precast structures, import pipeline embedments, valves, small diameter piping, miscellaneous construction, equipment, etc. The general approach is we're working from north to south, originating at the Leonard Water Treatment Plant and moving our way southward down the alignment corridor. Outside of that, general items, portable facilities such as dumpsters, fuel tanks, etc. Here's a picture of the pipe that's ready to leave its place of fabrication. For this treated water pipeline, the product was awarded to the facility based in Saginaw, so it's a local vendor to the Texas market. You can see there is a lot of material that will quickly be consumed once we initiate construction. Got a couple of photos here to give you a better depiction of what it looks like to unload and stage the pipe products. And while we're on this, some of the later slides will talk about public safety and what we can do, but at all times, keeping yourself clear from these large diameter pipes as they're being offloaded. There's a lot of blind spots behind these wheel loaders as they're exiting away from the truck. This photo at the lower right is indicative of how we would pre-stage and string the pipeline on top of the topsoil. From a coordination standpoint, either myself or Ben Snyder or others will be in active communication with you fellow property owners to ensure points of ingress and egress across the easement all times. It's as simple as we can pull out a section of pipe to give you a 50-foot opening wherever that area might be. Also, concurrent with started deliveries or shortly tailing behind, we'll begin the stockpiling of aggregate along the construction right-of-way. And to share some other numbers with you, it's, with every stick of pipe being 50 feet and approximately 2 tons per feet, there's going to be tens of thousands of semi-loads of material just to stage for raw construction materials. Here's a close-up photo of the size of wheel loader it takes to handle, whether it be the 90 or 84-inch pipeline. This is a Cat 980 M size wheel loader. I guess, a picture may not do this justice until you have an opportunity to be in closer proximity to it. Here's another alignment shot looking down a right-of-way. This is actually taken from the the raw water pipeline, and this is 90-inch pipe staged with aggregate stockpiles. Be very indicative of what to expect as we advance into construction. So from a pipe installation, what to expect? As I indicated before, crews will be working from north to south. There will be multiple lay headings and crews throughout the project working simultaneously, whether it be excavators, front-end loaders, dozers, off-road haul trucks, etc. It's important to take note of whether it be Garney or our subcontractors will be traversing along the construction easement throughout the project duration until final completion. As Mr. Long and others have heard me allude to before, we call this a series of waves: the pre-preparation wave, the staging wave, the installation wave, the commissioning wave, and the restoration wave. Be happy to cover more particulars with you in person related to your respective properties. Here's a series of photos from a pipeline installation. You know, this is some hard rock that was incurred up on the raw water pipeline segment. We do foresee a lot of this to be incurred throughout the course of the treated build, throughout sections just south of Leonard, and then predominantly up north of McKinney. Here's a couple of photos depicting a threading of the carrier pipe. This is the pipe that inserts through the previously constructed tunnels, the tunnel liner plate systems. As that indicated in one of the earlier slides, we have a series of 7 large diameter isolation butterfly valves. These are quite heavy. In this picture, we have 2 Cat 390 excavators side setting this pipe in its final resting position. And here's an example of what it looks like before we finalize the backfill. So post-pipe installation, what to expect? Again, the filling, testing, commissioning. There's a tremendous amount of water just to get the pipeline full. And post that will be the surface restoration. You know, the intent of that is to replace the topsoil previously removed during the phase 1, as well as removal of the excess materials and dirt. It's a great opportunity, with Garney being the construction and the CMAR, to create a true win-win scenario for all impacted property owners. There will be available excess materials that we can further discuss. Also in the latter phases will be restoration of the permanent fencing and gates, restoration of the creek banks, and as I just indicated, placement of excess dirt. Here's a photo of a cultivated field, a final product, post-construction of a large diameter pipeline. Other than the dark smear, really no change from prior to post. This photo here depicts, this is referred to as concrete articulated block, some of the steeper creek banks to mitigate against erosion and scouring. This will be a final protective measure to put in place to shield those banks. Public safety, as that opened, you know, projects of this magnitude come with some scale of impact. There's going to be a much elevated level of traffic volume. It's important to note that this is an active construction site. The work is in proximity to residential homes. It takes very large and heavy equipment to construct a project of this magnitude. There'll be open trench excavations to contend with, a host of material stockpiles that are very inviting for the young children to want to climb on. We would encourage everyone to refrain from allowing their children to access the right-of-way and to be accompanied by an adult at all times. We went to great lengths to work through with the respective county commissioners to assign designated haul routes to accommodate the construction deliveries. We have pre-coordinated the open cut roadways. We would ask that every property owner and everybody within the public be mindful of the traffic control signs that you will see be implemented and in place. Those signs are critical to ensure the safeguard and protection not only yourselves, but also our workers. We'll ask for strict adherence to posted speed limits, and with regards to that, throughout the course of construction, if you incur construction traffic that's not obeying the speed limits, you will have immediate points of contact with the Garney organization to assist to get that rectified. Also, from a public safety standpoint, we'll be working in close proximity to existing utilities, whether it be overhead electric, gas, water, etc. From a continuance of the public project safety measures, what can we do to help facilitate safety? At the close of every shift, it's security of open excavations with safety fence, proper storage of our equipment, continued mitigation of environmental concerns, erosion control, One thing that Garney does is we maintain new equipment with the current technologies. We also employ trained and certified operators. All work activities performed in strict accordance with OSHA and safety policy. And probably of the utmost importance is to ensure that all impacted property owners are well educated and well informed of the at-risk nature of this work, and to remain in proactive communication throughout the course of this build. Here's a couple of photos of a couple of those new, shiny, well-maintained excavators, and 2 operators are very pleased to take delivery. This will be the size of the equipment necessary to construct the 84-inch pipeline. Last but not least, just Q&A. For those that you have already been in communication with Ben Snyder, as a point of contact, he is my assistant construction manager / project manager over the treated water pipelines component. And then again, myself, Jason Jansen. Thanks for everybody's time.
Jason, thank you very much. We're now going to answer your questions. To submit a question, for those of you who have not done it, we've already had some put in. You can open the Q&A function in Zoom and type in your question. And one of the questions I want to mention, first of all, there was a question about the haul route schedule, and will that map be available so that people know which areas can expect more traffic. We do have a copy of that map available on the Bois website, boidarclake.org. You can go there and that will actually show you which routes we're going to use for haul routes, or as what that's called, that's basically which routes the traffic we can expect to see construction traffic on, delivering the pipe that Jason mentioned, as well as some of those other supplies that are needed. So please feel free to go to the Bois website. You can open up that map, you can look at it. That will also tell you where those roads are that we're actually going to be doing some work on. And Jason, that leads us to the next question. You mentioned we'll be tunneling in some areas, but we're also going to have open cut areas. So can you tell us what the difference is between the two and what exactly open cut is?
Absolutely, Jeff. So generally speaking, it's a matter of open cut will be a complete road closure with a pre-approved traffic control detour plan. And again, there's 12 locations. The good news is this will be a rather short-term disruption, but the real intent of creating a full closure with the size and the magnitude of this pipe and the depth of the excavations, it's to manage public safety at the forefront of our decisions. So that work we envision could take up to a couple of days to no more than a week. And the tunnel crossing method, they'll be constructed by the hand tunnel liner plate method, as I'd mentioned earlier.
Okay, thank you, Jason. I also wanted to mention too that the North Texas Municipal Water District has already reached out and contacted those property owners that we need easements from. So if you have not received a call from NTMWD, then we do not have an easement on your property. Jason, the next question goes to you as well. And it's about installation of pipelines across FM 827. Do we know exactly when that will happen? And will there be a closure or interruption of traffic in that area?
Jeff, I currently don't have our construction schedule in front of me to accommodate this Zoom meeting. So I will take some notes, look into the schedule and get back. But as far as FM 827 is concerned, that in fact is
1827.
1827, that in fact is a tunnel crossing. So there will be absolutely no impact. The only impacts at any time will be once the equipment transitions across there, and that'll be a very minor flagging operation.
Okay. Stay on, Jason. We have some more questions for you. Will staging of the pipe and materials and the associated construction equipment be confined to the easement areas, or will there be heavy equipment on adjacent land to where there's an easement?
All work will be contained within the easement area unless a prior concession is granted by property owner. And what I mean by that is, in one of the earlier slides, we'd indicated that there will be a volume of excess materials. We call it friendly horse trading, etc. But If at any point in time a property owner determines, hey, maybe there's something we could have the contractor do over here to dispose of this excess material, and by nature it's off the easement, that would be the only occasion that we would access off the easement.
You mentioned in your presentation the butterfly isolation valve. Can you tell us exactly what that is?
It is essentially a line stop. Once the pipeline is taking out of service, if for whatever reason there was a section that operations determined they needed to access the pipeline, rather than dewatering and draining the entirety of that pipeline, which, sorry, I need to look back to my notes, would be north of 36 million gallons of water, sections of the pipeline could be dewatered in a much smaller fashion to help salvage and save the precious water supply.
Tell us, Jason, about the restoration work that you do whenever you are on an easement property. How close do you get that to what it was? What do you do to restore that?
Jeff, for lack of better words, there's a volume created by the import pipeline embedment as well as 84-inch pipeline. That excess volume by nature of the pipeline embedment and the pipeline will have to be disposed of. So step one is to pre-cut or strip the top 12 inches of topsoil. And that's important to note, not every property has 12 inches. So there's some properties where the rock strata might be 2, 3, 6 inches beneath existing surface. The issue, if you overstrip 12 inches, is at that point you begin to churn up the rock material and you will not have a good finished product at close of construction. So step one is to pre-cut the topsoil, segregate it, safeguarded along the side of the easement. Once construction's back, we would match existing subgrade where that subcut terminated. Anything left over above that would be the excess materials to be disposed of. That way we can ensure matching surface elevations, both pre and post construction.
Right. Jason, a lot of this area is rural area, so we do have some cattle that are in pastures. When you come to a property that has cattle, do you put up temporary fencing to keep them out of the easement construction area?
Case by case basis, Jeff. The one thing I can assure everyone is that at the close of every shift, we'll at a minimum secure open excavations throughout the night. Now, every property owner we will pre-coordinate with prior to onset of operations in those properties. So there are unique properties that require a little extra dependent upon where's the water supply in relation to the pipeline easement. Can temporary fencing keep those livestock secluded, but yet still gain them access to their precious water supply? So there's not a one-size-fits-all approach, other than at a minimum, we will secure open excavations to close of every shift.
Can you explain to us a little bit about those? We have the different phases of construction. Does everything happen simultaneously? Do you have different phases going on at different times? And how does that work when we're bringing in truckloads of pipe and other materials that are needed? Do we expect that certain areas might see more traffic at only certain times or throughout the project?
Great question, Jeff. Very great question. So in the earlier presentation, I alluded to, we look at this as a series of waves. So the first wave that is going through is survey of the property, clearing of the right-of-way, stripping of the topsoil. Concurrent with those efforts, there's ongoing tunneling operations. Those efforts will have been underway for nearly a 1-month time frame before we even consider onset of pipe deliveries. Once we initiate and start pipe deliveries and staging of aggregate materials, those efforts typically take a 2 to 3 month lead time. Someone might ask, well, why do you need to pre-stage that far and ahead of pipeline operations? Well, right now we're in the hot summer months and it's a drought. Conditions are great. In the springtime, if deliveries have to postpone or get tabled or get delayed because of wet inclement weather, we could incur a scheduled delay with the pipe installation crews. So the waves would be, portions of work will be ongoing way out ahead of the pipeline installation. If we carry ourselves forward throughout the course of this year, the bulk of the raw water or the treated water pipeline materials, pipe and aggregates, assuming weather's cooperative, will either conclude near close of this year to spring of next year, weather contingent. Pipe installation, on the other hand, will tail on out into the summer months of next year, leading into start of filling. And behind those pipe installation efforts will be ongoing restoration efforts, whether it be creek banks, final surface restoration, etc.
Okay, thanks, Jason. Steve, I have a question for you. I'm going to give you a chance to think about this one. This is actually a question as to where the pipeline curves into McKinney. But before you answer that for us, we've had some comments about some of the photos and possibly videos that were shown, and would those be available to the public? We do post photos and videos on the Bodark Lake website, and so you can have those there. And honestly, too, just because something's taken with a drone may not mean that there is a video involved. It may just be a photo that was taken while it was up. But if you have any specific questions about any of those, please feel free to email us or make a comment, and we can definitely reach out to you about that. So Steve, the question is, where does the pipeline curve southwest into McKinney?
So right at the East Fork of the Trinity River, we're going to cross the Dart Rail and the East Fork of the Trinity River, and then we will turn southwest to connect to an existing District 72-inch pipeline.
Okay, thank you very much, Steve. Does anyone else, are there any other questions that people would have? We do have several that we're going to reach out to people individually to get them specific information on the questions that they have in regard to where they live. But are there any other questions that anyone have? And I would remind everyone that if you do think of a question after this, you can always email that question to bodarklake@ntmwd.com. I monitor that email address, and I will be happy to either answer it myself or get you the answer that you need. So specifically, Steve, you mentioned East Fork of the Trinity River. Is there an intersection there? And I know that part of this is the person was just wondering about, you know, it's not a very specific address, but that area is actually a rural area. There aren't very many properties there.
Right, Jeff. It's near McDonald and Bloomdale Road. That's sort of the general area.
It's going to be just to the east of that.
Enough description.
Okay, and we can, for sure, if that person wants to get a more direct answer to that, we can please reach out to us, and then we can actually give you a much more specific answer. But yes, it's in that general area just to the east of North McDonald Highway 5. Well, I'm looking through. I don't see any other questions here that I need to answer right now. As I mentioned, we will be re-answering questions or answering questions tomorrow and following up. Then any further questions you have specifically about your property or maybe the area around where you live. So I want to thank everyone for attending the meeting. I want to thank all of our panelists, for Steve Long with NTMWD and Jason Jansen with Garney. As I mentioned, this is the first time that NTMWD has hosted a virtual public meeting in this format, and we hope that you found it informative. As a reminder, we are recording the meeting. We'll post a link to that on the website. I expect to have that up no later than tomorrow, so please feel free to share that link with anyone who would like to know more about the project. Additionally, we have created several informational sheets to provide you more information on this, and this is actually one of them right here. This is the treated water pipeline, what to expect during construction sheet. It's 4 pages. It talks to you, it actually shows some of the maps we have that you can see it on the Bodark Lake website. This has the map of those haul routes of the impacted properties. Additionally, it has those phases of construction and what will be done in those. You can also find a link on bodarklake.org to the Bodark monthly e-newsletter that we put out, as well as the new treated water pipeline e-newsletter. If you go to the website, this is just a snapshot of the homepage. You'll see on the right-hand side there, sign up for our e-newsletters. You click that, it gives you the option to sign up for either or for both. And again, finally, if you think of a question in the future, you can email it to bodarklake@ntmwd.com. Thank you once again for your attendance this evening and your interest in Bodark Lake. Here's the information if you'd like to contact us. An email address for myself, as well as a phone number and an email address for Jason Jansen as well. Thank you all very much, and you all have a wonderful evening.